Poppin, guys, and welcome back to another interview hosted by Flavour Blaster. I'm Lorna. I'm joined here by the Flavour Blaster drinks developer Tim, and we are very lucky because today we're joined by world champion flair bartender Tom Dyer. So thank you very much for joining us, Tom. I hope this isn't too much trouble or time to take out of your day. We really appreciate it. We're just here to have a good conversation with you, get to know you and all of the ventures and the business that you have going on at the moment.
Amazing. Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, perfect. So let's just dive straight in. So do you want to start just by introducing yourself and talking us through briefly your journey throughout the bartending business and industry?
You know, how long have you got? My name's Tom Dyer. I've been in the industry for 24 years now, from being a busboy collecting glassware and a bar back. I owned my own bar once in Spain. That failed. I competed a lot in bartending competitions all over, in flair bartending competitions all over the world. That was my main focus, my main career path for 15 or so years. And then from that, I did a lot of trainings, I did a lot of travelings, worked with many brands, and it was predominantly all freelance work up until the point where I started to break away from competitions and then focused on organizing competitions, judging them. And then we opened a bartending school in London called European Bartender School, the franchise of the EBS. And since then, we've now about to open our 6th school in Bucharest, Romania, later on this year. And yeah, it's been quite a whirlwind, let's say. And 24 years seems like a long time when you say it out loud. But I wasn't supposed to go down this path. It was supposed to be, I was going to be a computer scientist or a computer programmer. I was studying that at university and quit that to be a bartender, or more specifically to be a flair bartender. And it was a very lucky decision. So yeah, it was quite a whirlwind, like I say, but happy to be here and looking forward to hopefully the journey, the next 24 years and what they will bring. Definitely. I mean, I never would have thought that doing this would give me the chance to travel so much and see so much of the world. Some members of my family still can't believe that I've made a career out of throwing bottles around, or more specifically, smashing bottles, as they like to say. Yeah. Some people still wonder when I'm going to get a real job as well. And yeah, it's definitely something which I think the traveling is the biggest part for me, which has made a huge impact. And it's something which I always say to the younger generation out there, no matter what you're doing, go traveling, because it's the biggest education and the biggest learning point, no matter what you're doing, that you can have. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds it. So you've done a lot of travelling and decided to reside in Portugal. So is there something about, well, there must be something that stands out about Portuguese sort of cocktail culture, food and drink culture generally. So could you just sort of tell us a bit about that?
Yes, it wasn't for the food or the drink, unfortunately. The cocktail culture in Portugal is growing fast. They have the Lisbon Bar Show, which happened just a few weeks ago, which has really helped push the community here on leaps and bounds. But the first real cocktail bar opened, I think it was about 17 years ago now. It's called Cinco Lounge, and it's still going today. And they really started to set the level of cocktails in Portugal. And there's a lot of good bars cropping up. So there's one called Imprensa, there's Monkey Mash and Red Frog, which have been around for a little while, Cafe Clandestino as well, and there's a few more opening up here and there. But generally, they're quite far behind. If I liken it to sort of the London or the UK cocktail scene, most of the bars here are quite far behind, which is kind of good in a way, because it opens up for other business opportunities or training opportunities or consultancy, things like this. But I came here predominantly for the good weather and the beach, which I don't get to see enough of, funnily enough. Huh?
I'm saying I don't blame you.
Yeah. No, it's, as I said, the funny thing is, though, since I moved here, you have this image, or I had this image, and some other people that were on the beach and going in the ocean all the time and having just like this sort of beach life all the time. But it's we live in Lisbon city centre pretty much, so it's not like that yet. The plan is to move a little bit closer to the ocean.
Nice. Okay, well, that's really interesting. So we're going to move now from Portugal to the online world and talk about one of your current ventures alongside Avenue, which is the Battle of the Bottle competition. So this is an online competition. Do you want to talk us through the concept and the structure, just for anybody that might not have heard of it before?
Sure. It is a 100% online cocktail competition, as you said, and it's like nothing else that has been before, because although there has been online cocktail competitions, especially during the COVID pandemic, it's a competition which I'm trying to put it in the shortest way that I possibly can, so everyone can understand. So let's just go from the beginning. There's 4 heats in Africa, America, Europe, and Asia. The top bartenders from each heat will make it to the final. Now, what you need to do in each heat is film yourself making a cocktail using the sponsored products. But what makes this competition different is that it's hosted on a platform called The Avenue, which is quite a new streaming platform, which is designed to help the creator or the performer earn money from their first video. So whereas YouTube, for example, I have a YouTube channel, and it took me a year or so to actually start earning any money from it, from YouTube ads. This one, The Avenue, you can earn money using their tip jars. So on every video, you have 2 tip jars there where the viewers can go and tip you real money, depending on whether they like you or not, I suppose. Well, if they don't like you, you're not going to get many tips. But the competition format, because of my career competing in competitions for many years, what I realized is that out of all the people competing, 98% of them, 97% of them leave with nothing. So the few that go and compete and they get the top 5 or top 3 spaces and they win some money, they go away with a trophy. Maybe they get their expenses paid for with the money. But everybody else just gets a well done, thanks for coming, here's your t-shirt, perhaps. Yeah. So I always wanted to make a competition where everybody gets something back from the efforts and the hard work that they've put into the competition. And this one does that, because even if you get last place, you can still earn hundreds of dollars, even in last position. And you get out from this competition what you put in, because it's the same thing again. If you compete in a regular competition, you can put in all the hard work, hours and hours and hours, and still get nothing from it. Whereas this one, if you put in hours and hours of hard work into your performance and your show online, you will get something back in the form of tips and monetary gain. So that was the main premise behind the competition. And when I discovered The Avenue, I realized that it was going to be very easy to put this kind of competition together. The difficulties are obviously that it is 100% online, and online competitions, some people like, some people don't. But this one, I think, once people get their head around how the platform works and how they can actually gain from this, I think we'll really see an influx of people signing up. We've already got about 40 or 50 bartenders signed up, but we expect quite a few more, let's say. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's a great idea. Obviously, there's a huge difference. Well, I'm guessing there's more than just the difference between old competitions. You can put in so much effort and get, like, sometimes, as you say, you get nothing from it. Like, apart from that, what would you say the key differences are between the traditional live setting competitions and the more, the new virtual ones, the online ones, like your own?
It's a good question, because Battle of the Bottle more specifically, because of the way it's formatted, you don't have to be a seasoned pro to win the comp. You can be a beginner. As long as you can make a decent cocktail and you're a beginner bartender just into the scene, you still have the possibility to win this competition. So it makes it, in a lot of cases, in this case, it makes everything a level playing field in that respect. Online competitions versus live competitions, there's always going to be advantages and disadvantages. And the advantage of an online comp, in my opinion, is that you can get out to more people. sponsors can get more of an impact and more of an awareness than just a live competition. And you can cover, a much larger land base, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I don't ever think that, and I don't ever want digital competitions to overtake live competitions, because I think they have a place together or separately. And I think it's important that there are still live competitions, because at the end of the day, you can't taste a cocktail in a computer, can you?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the main difference I think that people will see. Just being able to taste that product at the end, or that cocktail, I think is obviously paramount. Otherwise, what's the point in making a cocktail for a picture or a videos? But having the digital competition and being able to showcase yourself online, getting yourself out there in front of a well-respected panel of judges, in front of sponsors, onto other platforms of social media and websites and internet, I think is good for bartenders and those trying to build themselves and build their brand and trying to improve their knowledge. Because one thing I learned about competitions, that it automatically makes you improve your knowledge in what you're doing, whether that's learning how to make new ingredients or learning about new products or whatever it may be. You get better as a bartender, I think, and you get more confidence. I definitely myself got more confidence from doing competitions. I've gained my confidence behind the bar. So there's many facets and many advantages to competitions in general, and obviously some of those overlap in digital competitions and live competitions as well. Have any of you done a live competition before?
I have done many live competitions, yes. I was an avid cocktail competition bartender, probably about 10 years ago. For about 3 years, I did as many as I can. I'm getting too old for it now, though.
Did you do any competitions during COVID, any online stuff?
Personally, no. I did see quite a lot of stuff, and I did get involved, not in competitions, but in the sort of there was a sort of, in the industry, a lot of people just took more photographs of drinks at home and just made more cocktails, and I sort of got on board with that content, and I would make my version. I think there was a martini little trend for a couple of months, and so yeah, I didn't do any competitions, but I did break out the camera and get on social media a bit more than I had been before.
Yeah, same here. And I think with the digital comps, what I foresee for the Avenue and the Battle of Bottom, what we're doing there, and something we're actually hooking up with the UKBG. They're looking to run the competitions through the Avenue.
Nice. That's
and
really
one
cool.
of the ideas and one of the models that we've thought about is to have the qualification rounds of a competition online.
Yeah.
So instead of people just sending a recipe over email and then somebody saying, "Oh, you didn't make it."
Yeah.
You get your video out there in front of people. You can make tips on the video through the Avenue and showcase yourself. And then from there, they can whittle it down to however many, 10 people. Mm. And then those 10 people come to a live location and make their cocktails in front of a panel of judges, which can also be live streamed. So you're still connecting the two facets of live online and live in real life. I mean, I think Diageo World Class, they did it online last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was last year. Yeah, it was just at the end of COVID, I think, if I remember.
And I think the way they did it was they had all the competitors send in their recipe to a central hub, which made all the cocktails for the judges there.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. Logistical nightmare, but very cool.
Well, yeah, I was just about to say, obviously Diageo can have the infrastructure, shall we say, to sort of be able to do something on such a grand scale and then get recipes and make them and all of this stuff.
I think we'll see more of that in the coming years.
Yeah.
I think COVID has definitely moved people towards this digital world, and that's something we're trying to jump on with Battle of the Bottle. It will never replace real life competitions, but I think there's a big gap, especially for sponsors.
Yeah.
Because of the life we live on. We're on a screen right now, and to have, a sponsor have their brand and their products there on screen in front of people, in front of influential people, I think is a big plus for sponsors if it's done correctly.
Definitely. You've actually just answered my next question there, because I think the conversation that you guys have been having about the move with a lot of bartenders to the virtual and the digital world because of COVID has obviously, like you said, had a big impact on the way that people do business and bartenders do business, whether it's endorsing products on social media, whether it's doing online consultancy or moving to YouTube and content creation and things like that. So like you said, it probably will have quite a lasting effect on the industry. How positive or negative do you think this effect will be?
I think only positive. I'm a big advocate of change, and the prime example of this is in the flair bartending world. The structure of competitions that we've had for the last 30 years hasn't changed that much, and it's something which I pushed for, my last years competing in competitions to change up. Hence the reason I've now come to start organising Battle of the Bottle, which essentially is a competition open to any bartender. It's not flair, it's not mixology, it's not classic. So I think the digital age, although it is a positive, everyone will say the less time we spend on a screen is better, which I completely agree with. Don't abuse your screen, use it for your own purposes. I'm sure we all abuse it sometimes a bit too much, but I think that digital world, I think we're just touching the surface, especially with things like the metaverse coming out, NFTs. I think we're going to see NFT cocktail bars crop up. I think we're going to see metaverse competitions happen if they haven't already happened. I think we're not going to get away from it. So instead of pushing back and trying to say, no, live is the only way, accept the change and see how people can use it to their benefit, because I think there are several benefits which can be suitable for bartenders, for organizers, for sponsors. The carbon footprint is lower. Yeah. People don't have to fly everywhere. They can stay in their own country and do it. So until teleportation becomes a real thing, I think the digital world is the only way forward for now.
Yeah, no, we 100% agree. We look a lot at Flavor Blaster at NFTs, and we're very interested in that space and how that space is going to affect the bartending industry and our customers and our market. So it's really interesting, all of the different trends that you've mentioned there. What's Poppin is all about what's trending within the industry, and we have a little game that we like to play called Poppin or Droppin'. So just for anybody who hasn't heard of it, I'm going to give you some different topics, things that are trending in the industry and the wider communities, and you need to tell us whether you think they're popping, so you think they're worth the hype, they're really interesting and people should be paying attention to them, or they're dropping, so they're overrated and you don't think they deserve the hype that they get. Okay?
All right, and I'll go first, I think.
Do I need to give an opinion on this?
Yes, we want.
Yeah, I think you can elaborate.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so I'll go first with number one. Yeah, CBD in terms of cocktails and the like.
Always popping, I think. I don't know much about. I don't know that. I don't want to pretend like I'm one of these people who knows a hell of a lot about CBD. I know that it can be very beneficial to some people in the medicinal sense, in, let's say, the mental sense. Again, I'm not an expert, and I think that used correctly, it can be great for cocktails, it can be great for people. And again, I'm that advocate of change. So anything which is a little bit different, a bit out there, I think is good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Nice positive start.
Agreed.
Okay, so the next one then is the automation of the bar industry. So obviously because of COVID, we're seeing a rise in technology. So it can be something as simple as ordering your drinks on an app rather than going to the bar and ordering them. Or it can be as extreme as, robot waiters and robot bartenders, which, is obviously starting in very small doses at the moment, but could kind of end up taking over. What are your thoughts?
Predominantly drop. Robot bartenders, I don't agree with. I believe in the bartender, right on kind of thing. But again, this automation of menus and things like this is not a bad thing. I love to hold a menu myself, but
Yeah.
it saves printing paper, it saves on costs. Everybody's got a phone in their hands. You know, I think that is a little pop right there.
A
But
little.
predominantly,
Just a class. The next one is Sippin Gin. So this is sort of in response to a new expression from Hernod Gin, Swedish gin, releasing a sipping gin. Also, there have been some oaked gins. I know they've been around for a while, like barrel-aged gin, but gin is a sipping sort of spirit. Popping or dropping?
dropping. And I'll tell you why. The whole the gin craze has all come from gin and tonics many, many years ago. I remember, as perhaps many, I don't know how long you've been bartending for, but I did events early 2000s.
Before me.
And we always had a vodka cocktail, we always had a rum cocktail, we always had a gin cocktail, including the possible gin and tonic. The gin cocktail, no one ever wanted. Oh, no, I don't like gin. With some clever marketing over the last 5-10 years, gin has now, everybody loves gin. So people don't love gin, they love the marketing behind gin and what it brings. And I think it's time to give some of the other spirits a turn in terms of how amazing they can be, because there's a shed load of different rums out there which are amazing. I just went to a Moscatel distillery in Portugal, and there's a whole range of different Moscatels which are great for sipping over ice. Quite sweet if you like sweet wine, but really good. Whiskey has always got its place, obviously. Mezcal. I mean, I think it's time for another spirit to have a go. And for the gin,
I'm a gin lover, so that hurts to hear.
I'm on your side though, Tom. Don't worry.
Okay, so the next one then, it's not necessarily a worldwide thing yet, but in the UK they are trialling the 4-day working week, and we know that it has been sort of proposed in Portugal as well. Okay, I think I know what your answer is going to be. But more specifically, how this is going to affect the bar industry. So is it going to affect drinking patterns? Is it going to affect rotas for the bar industry? What do you think in that sense?
That's a very good question, actually. I've heard that it's done really well in Finland, I think, where they, like you said, where they trialled it. And it comes down to that, you know, we work, people, what's that saying of don't live to work, work to live. Yeah. And to have people to have that extra day to themselves and their family, where there is a full day in the middle kind of thing and whatever, I think is a really good thing. In terms of rotas and how it will affect bars, bartenders, there'll definitely be some plus points. There'll obviously be some minus points as well, but I think we just have to adapt, overcome, and achieve.
Nice.
How's that?
Okay.
That's the saying goes. So I think it's huge popping. I think it's like that analogy I gave of flair competitions hasn't changed in 30 years. The working week hasn't changed for however many years. Yeah. So I will still work every day because I work for myself, but at least it kind of frees a lot of people up who don't need to work that full 5-day week.
Very good point.
Nice. The next one is Bartender Takeovers. So this is obviously where bartenders will take over a bar, put their own menu on. Poppin or dropping?
Dropping. I think it's good. You can have other bartenders come into your bar and work behind the bar, but I think it's become such a marketing ploy now for bars to get onto certain lists, perhaps, or just for marketing to only for marketing, and they don't really care that much as to who they're bringing to their bar. They're just bringing X person or Y person to up their own image, their own brand, their own bar. Whereas your bar should do that for you, not the famous bartender who won this or that competition. So I'm not adverse to going and doing, or bartenders going and doing guest shifts. I just think it's been bastardized a bit too much, in my opinion. And I'd love to see bars put a lot more effort into their service rather than into their marketing.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree.
Okay, so the last topic then is tipping culture. So obviously there's a huge debate around tipping culture. Does it encourage lower wages, or does it kind of give people the recognition and the financial respect that they deserve. So, what's your opinion on tipping culture?
This may surprise some people, but I think it's such a hard one to answer. So I'm going to answer at the end and I'll explain why. So,
okay.
I think tips are great if you earn your tips. If you've done a great service and someone thinks you've done a really good job, cool. But it shouldn't be expected. And it shouldn't be something which is used to, pay salaries and things like this. And a lot of my friends went to work in America over the years. And when they went to work over there, their focus and their image of tipping and how they serve people completely changed. So I was always, and especially UK bartenders, you serve someone whether they're going to give you a big tip or not. And when somebody does give you a big tip, you do try and give them good service. But you never expect anybody, to leave you a big tip. So everybody gets the supposedly same great service.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes in the States, I've seen people get completely ignored on the bar because they're not tipping.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they're just like, I just need to get out and have a drink or a beer or a cocktail or whatever. But they shouldn't be treated differently because they can't tip a bartender or because they don't want to give away their well-earned hard cash, which they may have worked a 5-day week for and 70 hours to have one beer. And I think that is the bad side of what tipping can bring. However, I do think tipping and showing your appreciation for the hard work people put in is really good. I know most people, myself, when we go to a bar or a restaurant, we always leave a tip because it's just the way that I learned it to be. So it's hard for me to say it's popping, but it's hard for me to say it's dropping. It's a drop-off.
Class.
That's a new one. You can coin that term.
New term coined.
Yeah. That is a really good answer, though.
So,
that's a really good answer.
What do you guys think about tipping?
Yeah, well, I was just about to say, because obviously it is very different where you go in the world. We've just been to Chicago, and obviously the tipping culture there is very different to the UK. We were actually in a restaurant and left a tip at the end and got told that, the manager actually came back and told us that we hadn't tipped enough.
Yeah. That was a very awkward. I think it just creates quite an awkward atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of it. Sorry to interject, Lorna, but another thing I think as well is, I can't remember which restaurateur or which restaurant off the top of my head, but I can remember learning of a well-known restaurant in the States, possibly New York, who just decided to get rid of service charge entirely, and instead of adding it to the bill as a mandatory payment, they just maybe upped the cost of each dish a very small amount. And the whole point was, we want staff to still get tips, but we want to remove that awkward feeling that a lot of guests get at the end of the experience, which can be a negative end of a great evening, so.
Exactly. It's exactly what I think. I think you hit the nail on the head with, you went through that exact experience, so.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. So we've given you our list then of what's popping or dropping in the industry. Now we want you to give us something. So what's something that you think people should be paying more attention to in the industry right now?
This is going to be really biased and it's going to seem very obvious coming from me, but I can't get my head away from it. I think it's a generalized thing. I think service and more specifically flair bartending is making more of a comeback than the 80s. So whereas that image of flair that we know of juggling bottles and doing big moves and making vodka cranberries or bad drinks is the general image that people have of flair, we're now seeing a lot more people use these smaller tricks, these little nuances to their cocktail, which includes the flavor.
Yeah.
There it is.
There we are.
Obviously, people are not flaring, or some people are flaring with it.
Yeah. I've also seen.
It's something which leaves people going, taking pictures of it. It's a visually appealing thing which adds to your service and adds to your experience as a cocktail drinker. And whereas 15 years ago, you could go to the Savoy or some other top-end mixology bars, let's say in central London, and you wouldn't see anybody spin or twirl anything. Whereas now you'll see a bartender flick their shakers very quickly, or just spin it in their hand, or we'll see bartenders using a jigger without their thumbs. I always learned to hold my jigger like this when I was a bartender. Now we're seeing this new Japanese style of bartending techniques, and I think for me, I call all of this different types of flair, whether it's working flair, craft flair, it's different types of flair bartending. And I think we'll see more and more people use these techniques. Let's step away from flair and say the service. People will focus a lot more on their service and how they look and perform behind the bar. Whereas before it wasn't so much focused. I think we'll see a lot more of that, especially because we live on this online digital world now, where a visually appealing video is a lot more entertaining to watch than a not visually appealing video. And I also think this is why throwing came back into fashion a hell of a lot. We rediscovered this technique which wasn't used. I mean, again, 15, however many years ago, a few years ago, we never really saw throwing. You go to 20 different cocktail bars in central London, let's say, you never saw throwing. You go to the same 20 cocktail bars now, they've got a cocktail on there which they're going to throw. And why do we throw? Because of the taste that it can bring to cocktails and the texture that it can bring to a cocktail. But it looks cool as shit. Can I swear? It looks cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Right?
Crack on.
It does. It looks and it feels really cool when you're throwing this liquid around. And I think that and the performance which bartenders are going to be using behind their bar is something to keep an eye on. I hope that's a long-winded way to put my popping friend.
It's well put, mate.
Yeah. No, that was all really interesting. So that concludes all of the questions that we had for you. So thank you so much for joining us today and talking us through everything, especially to talk about the Battle of the Bottles. So I should have mentioned before, Flavor Blast are actually supporting the competition. So if anybody's interested in finding out more about that, you can go over to Tom's social media. You can see it on the Flavor Blaster social media and also Avenue as well. So as many people to get involved in that, the better. So definitely go and check that out.
You can win a Flavor Blaster as well.
You can win a Flavor Blaster.
Oh, yes.
Good endorsement there.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for more content. If you want to check out Flavor Blaster, you can check us out on our website or our social media pages.